Welcome to the Retro Hack Shack. I'm Aaron Newcomb. Recently, I was browsing around eBay and I happened to find a laptop which piqued my interest. And it's this one, this Packard Bell laptop from the early 90s. And I thought it might be interesting to take a look at it, so I made a bid and I won, and it was shipped to me in just a few days. So I'm really anxious to take a look at this. I didn't even know Packard Bell made laptops in the early 90s. I thought that came later when they were acquired by Acer? NEC? Anyway, we'll find out. But I wanted to take a look at this laptop, see if I can get it working. It doesn't have a power supply, so I'm going to have to figure something out. But yeah, it should be interesting. That's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack. So I definitely want to see if I can find some service manuals or what kind of information I can find about this laptop. But before I do, I just can't help but notice that this thing is really clean. There's a little bit of maybe a scuff here that I can take out hopefully easily. But other than that, this is in great shape. The corners aren't knocked off. It doesn't look like anything's broken. Most of the covers are on, and I'll get back to what all these ports are after I look up some information on it. Yeah, but overall, this is a really clean machine. It is heavy, though. I'd say, I don't know, a good 7 or 8 pounds at least, maybe more. And on the back here, you can see the sticker, or hopefully you can. So here it is, Packard Bell, the model number PB286NB. It does have the voltage ratings on the back, which is nice, serial number, and then there's some configuration options here that would have been ticked off as they were building this. So it has 1 meg of memory, I assume, unless it's been upgraded, and I don't even know if it can be upgraded. And there's also a 20 megabyte hard disk and no math coprocessor in here. Now let's just take a quick peek inside too to see what the condition is inside. There we go. So yeah, this looks really nice on the inside. It's got LEDs for hard drive, floppy drive, power, standby charge, and I guess a little light. Maybe you could use this to see if you had enough battery left. And a really nice keyboard. This would be really nice to type on all day long. It feels much better than even some of my standard keyboards that I have for use on desktops. These switches are really nice. I'll have to see what they are. They feel a little bit like maybe Alps switches in here, but I'm no expert, so I don't know. So that's what the unit looks like as I received it. Let's see what the internet has to say in terms of user manuals and any other information I can find. So if you're like me, the name Packard Bell certainly brings back memories, and mostly of, mid-90s computers that were available at Best Buy, Walmart, and other places. And you'd often see ads for them. But Packard Bell goes back quite a bit further than that. And when they entered the PC market in the 80s, I believe, they tried to make a connection with their audiences that probably knew them from TV and radio. In fact, you can see it here in this ad. In 1950, America saw the future in Packard Bell. And they talk about how they're known for radio and televisions that they produced. But, now they're bringing out, entering the computer market, and you should trust them for your computer needs as well. So they started building PC clones, but they became really popular, actually, at least for me, in the 90s, because it seemed like every circular ad that you would get on Sunday or whenever you got those things, they would feature Packard Bell computers. It seems like they were everywhere. Probably one of the more popular clones at that time.
Now, getting a multimedia computer is as simple as 1, 2, 3. 1. You need a complete package like this Packard Bell 486DX250 with a 420 meg hard drive, CD-ROM, sound card, monitor, inkjet printer, and over $800 worth of software.
But it seems like these ads, and they had a distinct look for quite a long time. They had kind of this wavy plastic, molded plastic on all of their systems, and a lot of times there would be speakers hanging off the sides of the monitors, and this quite famously led when Apple released their G3, iMac G3. They talked about this fact that you had these monitors with these boxy speakers hanging off the side, and that was the PC standard of the day, apparently.
This is what they look like today, and I would like to take the privilege of showing you what they're going to look like from today on. This is iMac.
And I think it's almost a direct reference to some of these Packard Bell multimedia computers, as they were called back in the day. And in the late 90s, they were bought by NEC, or became a subsidiary of NEC. So sometimes I think there were some laptops that were co-branded for a while, NEC and Packard Bell, after they were purchased. And this logo over here, this is the one that I remember seeing on, most of the items that came out. But if you look at some of the earlier PCs, they definitely have the same lettering, not this one, but they have the same lettering on their early PCs as I have on this laptop. In fact, in this article on PC World from 2007, Packard Bells were ranked the #1 worst PCs of all time. So that's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they were that bad. A lot of people had them. They probably got people onto the internet, and they were reasonably priced. And yeah, they weren't top of the line or anything, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of you had Packard Bell computers back in the day. If this is what you had and it got you access to the internet and exposed you to new ideas and helps you learn, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad, but it is notable that they actually rated this the worst PC of all time. So it does have a little bit of a bad rap. Okay, so here's a search I was doing for this laptop. This is the model number PB286NB, and I was looking for the manual, and I've got to say there's very little information on the site or on the internet about this particular model. I don't know if maybe it wasn't around that long. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's never a good sign when you're searching for something and your forum post, which has yet to be answered, by the way, as I'm recording this, looking for more information, is the third result in the list. So yeah, not much information. I was able to find, however, this article from Compute Magazine, issue 192, and this was from May of 1991. Yeah, so early 91, where they do a review of this laptop. And you can see here they give some of the specs. So 286, 12 megahertz, your basic 1 meg plus of memory, or no, exactly 1 meg of memory, right? But then there's also, a serial port, a parallel port, a VGA port, which is nice. So I'll have to try that out. If the display doesn't work, perhaps I can hook this up to a VGA monitor and get some video out of it that way. So yeah, all in all, a 21 megabyte hard drive. We already saw that. Supports CGA, EGA, and VGA, which is really nice. The screen type is LCD, and list price is almost $4,000. So wow, it always amazes me how expensive this stuff was. Even something like this, which I would say is fairly mediocre for the time, is still going for list price of $4,000. Here they say street price of $2,000. But it's interesting. The review says here the PB286NB is a capable road warrior, as I found while taking it out on several cross-country jaunts. Wow, somebody went cross-country with this laptop. The unit's size and weight made it practically unnoticeable during transport. I'm telling you, if you had this in a backpack, you would notice it. It's pretty heavy. I found it quite easy to set up and use during plane rides. Now that's true. The size is quite small, and as he says here, it would fit on a tray table coming out of the back of a seat in front of you with no problem. He talks about some power saving functions like shutting down the floppy drive and slower rate of RAM to save on power, which is kind of cool. He also says down here that the LCD is particularly sharp and clear, so we'll have to test that out if it's working and see if it looks clear, at least in this day and age. Ooh, it looks like you can have 16 shades of gray. Insert your joke here. And a 256 color video mode, which will map to 32 shades of gray. Holy moly. One knock that he does give it are the hinges on the doors. So when we take a look at the different ports on the laptop, we'll have to see if those doors that open up to give you access to the ports, whether they're sturdy or not. That is something I would worry about as well. And it looks like one of them has already come off. And it also looks like they did some memory read tests here, and it performed adequately. You can see some of the other systems, I would say, not even laptops, but systems, some of these. So the Tandy 1000RL, a 6 megahertz AT, it looks like, and then several other laptops, the Zeos laptop, Sanyo laptop, Laser, Sun Moon Star. That's one I've never heard of. If you used a Sun Moon Star back in the day, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear it. Okay, let's take a closer look at the various ports that are available on the laptop itself. So here is that logo, which doesn't quite look like the standard Packard Bell logo to me. It's Packard Bell, America grew up listening to us. It still does. So they put their logo on it, but they also put a slogan on there, but attempting to build trust, I guess, with their audience that they are, they've been trusted. They're a trusted provider of electronics, so maybe they should be trusted for computers as well. This to me, looking at this logo, really does kind of indicate to me that this was one of their first attempts at certainly producing a laptop. I think. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Let's take a look at some of these ports real quick. Let's just go through them quickly. So here's one of those doors. It's just a push spring-loaded open door. And there you can see we have a VGA port. There's a knockout here. And then the battery, which is in here, spring loads open, and it's a really big NiCad battery. There we go. Ooh, look at how big that thing is. And that thing is bigger than the laptop is deep, I guess you would say. And it's nearly goes the whole length of the laptop itself from front to back. So one huge battery. I doubt that it's... This is the problem with these doors. See, if you don't... they get these weird hinges on them. So this is what the article was saying. But yeah, if you don't do it properly, they break off really easily. I'm really surprised that these are intact as much as they are. We've got the floppy drive here. Hopefully that's working. And another one of these spring-loaded doors, which reveals the keyboard and mouse connections there. And then we have an on-off switch. Back here we've got the ports. Now there's this external bus port, which again has one of these weird hinges. I really don't like these. This is bound to get broken off, but here's that external bus connector. Not sure if this is standard or not. I'll have to do some research and see, but that could be interesting to see if this could be connected maybe to some ISA cards through an adapter or something. And then we have what looks to be a serial port. One of these must be a parallel port, and then a SCSI port, maybe? Not sure. And then the biggest concern for me is this power jack here. So let's get a closer look at this. So here's the power jack, and it really does, it's kind of a weird jack. It's not necessarily a 3-pin DIN, unless maybe it's shifted over, maybe? I don't think so. To me, that does not look like a standard 3-pin DIN. Now, the label said that there were 2 voltage ratings on here, a 7.5 volt and a 5.6 volt. So, I don't have the power supply, so I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to power this. I think I may have to create a custom cable if I can figure out what kind of jack this is. And maybe temporarily I can just hook it up to my power supply and see if I can get it to power up. But this is going to be an issue. I may have to open up this laptop to try to figure out where everything's connected. There's got to be one of these that's ground, unless it's just using the shielding for ground. But typically, one of these would be ground, and then there's got to be one that's for the 5.6 volts, and one that's for the 7.5 volts. So I'd really like to get this thing powered up. Maybe I'll break this thing open, take a look at what's inside. All right, so now the question is how to get into this thing. I was expecting to find more screws on the back, but it doesn't appear to be any screws. There may be a screw here. There's this void warranty if removed. Let's just remove that. Yeah, so this warranty sticker doesn't want to come off, but there's definitely a screw there. There appears to be a seam that kind of runs right through the floppy drive here and up and around like that. So that's a possibility. There are also these screws here, which might have to come out. We'll see. And right here, I don't know if you can see, but there's some definite tabs here. So there's some plastic tabs that may come off and give some easy access, I hope. So there's not a lot of places to hide screws in here, although I do see, I think, a screw, maybe a couple screws here underneath the space bar. Let's see if sometimes screws are hidden underneath the labels. Let's just see. Oh, yep. And there's 2 screws here, too. Okay, so this is interesting. This panel just pops off. And look, there's the memory. So you can change out that's pretty easy access. I wasn't expecting that. So you can change out this memory fairly easily. Maybe I can do a little upgrade. Kind of wants to come out. I'm going to take off some of these screws in the panels here. And I can see there's an award bias chip down in there, so that's good. One side, 2 sides. Okay, there's a little flat flex. Looks like it needs to come out. There we go. It's starting to come. I'll be really careful with this because if this breaks, it's going to be hard to replace. There we go. Okay, now we can get a better look at what's going on inside. So there's a second battery here, probably for the clock or what have you. There's a second battery. This is the hard drive, and of course this is the floppy drive. But if I can trace out where that 7 volts is, that may be for to charge the battery. Someone suggested online that a lot of times companies would use that 7.5 volts to charge the batteries in these. So if I can get in there and trace that line out, then I can tell which one is for the battery, and potentially the other one, the 5.6, would be for the main computer. And I might even be able to run this off of just 5.6, but right now I don't know which is which. I just remembered I never took off this screw under the warranty sticker. That's probably the last thing I need to do. There we go. And this definitely looks like it's going to the battery. I'm not sure if this board has some battery charging technology built in, but we'll see. In any case, here's where that plug is coming in, so this is what I need to trace out. Okay, so let's take a closer look at this board. This down here, it looks like could be maybe some onboard memory as well. A little speaker up here. This also says award, but it's in the shape of one of those Dallas clock batteries. I wouldn't think you would need this if you have this battery, so maybe that serves some other function. It's not a clock battery, but it certainly looks like it's in the exact same shape as a Dallas clock battery. The award BIOS chip I mentioned before, that might be a BIOS chip there. This little daughter board, the battery unplugs from there, and this little daughter board lifts off. Not much going on underneath there. But you can see here there's a chips chip. I love that logo. But there's that might be part of the chipset for the board. There is a place for a coprocessor right here. So if this did have the math coprocessor option, it would go right there. I'm looking for the main processor. This says Headland Technology. I'm not too sure what that is. And there's a couple other chips in here. I think these are socketed. Can I pull them out? Yeah. This is the BIOS, 328 BIOS chip right there. So that's the programmable BIOS. And then, like I said, this appears to be the RAM. But look at that. It's a special, never seen a RAM chip like that has all the pins to one side like that. I wonder if they built this specifically for this laptop or whether this is something that I could change out and upgrade. Certainly that doesn't look easy to find. If anybody has, there are 2 of these, by the way. There's room for another one of these. So apparently you could add 2 of these to expand the memory. But yeah, if anybody knows about these memory boards, looks like there is no parity here. There's an even number of chips. So yeah, if you know about these, let me know in the comments. I'd love to get a hold of another one maybe and populate this second slot. Well, I guess I've got to take off this flat flex here to see what's underneath. Okay, now this should come out. So this thing's full of all sorts of different chips. This could be the CPU here. It says Harris. It says 286 on it. Intel 1982. I'll have to look this up and see if this is the main CPU or not. I believe it is, especially since it's so close to the coprocessor here. Yeah, so I just checked, and sure enough, this is the CPU like I suspected. It was manufactured by Harris Semiconductor. I've never heard of Harris or seen a Harris chip before. I've seen plenty of AMD chips. Intersil, I think, was another one. I think Fujitsu was also allowed to make these, but I've never seen a Harris chip before. So that's pretty interesting. Overall, this board is really compact. If you think about, it's really just this section plus the daughter board. Everything else is the battery. That takes up almost as much space as the motherboard itself with the daughter board on top. So that's pretty compact. Now, because there's this daughter board that's detached from CPU, memory, everything else that on a normal desktop you might, be concerned about blowing something up. Because this board is detached, it offers me a chance to diagnose a little differently. So the first thing I tried was tracing out where these traces go, but unfortunately this is a multi-layer board. It's probably like a 4-layer board, and the traces kind of dive in between and go everywhere. I probed around quite a bit, and I couldn't quite figure out, especially with the voltage going through all these passives, where the voltage was ending up. What I did end up doing, though, was I found which pin on the CPU was the VCC, or the plus 5 volts. Once I found that, I was able to easily trace that over to where the board, one of the places that the daughter board connects to the primary board, and find the 5-volt line there. And I decided just to test one of the two possible pins that I thought it might go on. So if what I've done is I've plugged this into one of the connections, and I will test and see if I'm seeing voltage on the battery pins or if I'm seeing voltage on the 5-volt line that goes to the motherboard. I hope that all makes sense. Not something I recommend in most cases doing it this way, but because I have this daughter board that I can literally pull off the main board, it provides me a little more assurance that I'm not going to blow something up this way. Oh yeah, see, that's 5.394, and I'm putting in 5.6 volts. It's going through some resistors and some passives probably. So now I can be pretty sure that this connection that I'm plugged into on the power port is that 7.5 volt line, because that's what would be used to charge the batteries. If I was seeing 5 volts over here, which I'm definitely not, I'm seeing barely anything there, then I would know that that was the 5-volt pin. So now I'm pretty sure I know what the pinout is of the power port, and I feel comfortable hooking this back up, getting things kind of put back together, and applying 5.6 volts through that pin, and just see if I get any life on this machine. Or, it's possible that it requires that 7.5 volts, which I think is just used for the battery, but it's possible that it requires that to power up. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if there's any magic smoke coming out. I'm also recording on my camera so that you can get a better angle, because I think the screen's going to be a little hard to see. So I'm going to turn this on, and we'll see what happens. Right now the switch is off, but I'm going to go ahead and turn on the power and turn on the switch. Fingers crossed. I see power light, standby charge. Could be a dead laptop, or I don't know. Maybe it doesn't run without the battery. That's a possible. Even though the battery is drained, it might not run without the battery, and it might not run without that 7.5 volts plugged in. So let me turn this off and put the battery in and see if that makes any difference. Okay, so the battery's back in, turning it on. Now, the power and standby charge just stay on the whole time. Yeah, I'm not getting any noises at all. No hard drive noises, no floppy noises. So maybe it does need that 7.5 volts after all. Okay, I switched to handheld mode here so I can show you what is going on. So what I've done is I've connected both. I have two my main power supply over here, which is putting out 7.5 volts. And that's connected to what I believe is the battery line, the battery voltage line. And then I've got a second kind of a step down buck converter that I've set for around 7.6. It flips around a little bit. I have to fiddle with it. It's not that precise. Now, interestingly enough, when I've got this connected and the power turned off, you can see it's actually pulling almost an amp. So I assume that the battery charger is doing its thing and it's trying to charge up those old batteries. Hopefully that's not a problem. But then watch what happens here. And this is why I switched to handheld mode so you can see this a little better. Watch what happens when I turn this on now. So I don't know if you could see that, but the screen came on just a little bit and the numpad lock, the keyboard LEDs came on. Let me power it off. Maybe you can see it. See, I don't know, maybe you can see that turn off. Okay, I just turned it on. So you can see the backlight's lighting up now, and the keyboard seems to be operating, or at least the LEDs flicker on for a moment. So I think I'm getting closer. Okay, so while I was researching, I've been noticing that the amperage draw on the power supply has been dropping. It's now down to 0.6, almost 0.7 amps. And I'm wondering if the batteries, maybe, like I said, maybe the battery's charged. So I just wanted to try this out. And I figured this would be a better angle to view if things do come to life. So let's just go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. There's a beep. Oh, hard drive spinning up. Doesn't sound too good though. Yeah, so it's not completely happy. It's booting, but there are words on the screen at least. I can just see them barely. Some pass-fail stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna let this thing charge up some more. Turn it off, let it charge up, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the battery's been charging for a while now. So I'm gonna power it up again and see if I can get it to maybe boot off something. As you can see, I've got the screen working a little bit better. I found that there are contrast and brightness controls right here. You just have to hold down the function key and they do work in any mode. So that's pretty good. So it goes through, it passes all the tests, gives me a beep and says press F1 to continue, like it did before. And then it says disk boot failure. And you can hear the hard drive. It sounds really, really bad. I'm sure it's toast. So I'm going to try try booting off of a floppy disk. One thing that is bothering me though is it appears that this is running completely off of battery. So you'll notice that I've got the two voltages here. This one's delivering 0.7 amps to charge the battery, and this one is set for 5.6. Well, it kind of varies back and forth, but it's close to 5.6. But it only seems to be powering the LEDs. So, you know, I don't know exactly. It's running 0.03 amps right now, but if this was powering the system, I would expect it to be running at least an amp or so as the computer was running. Now, you just heard the hard drive stop. So that's a nice thing. It eventually does stop making that awful noise, and once I get a new one in there, it's a great power-saving feature, actually. I just want to test out the floppy drive real quick and see if it actually boots. Oh, and there's the... That's pretty cool. I don't know if you saw that. The display actually turned itself off. This is Microsoft MS-DOS 4.01. Now, MS-DOS 4.01 was pretty crap, actually. It was kind of a bridge in between 3 and 5. And in fact, the first couple, I think the 4.00, the first version of it didn't work. It had some horrible problem. They had to go back and fix it. That should boot up. Let's see. Let's see if the floppy drive works. Seems like it's booting. Okay, so hopefully you can see that now. It's asking me for the date and time, of course. Enter the date, enter the time. Don't need to do that. MS-DOS version 4.01 booted fine. Let's try to read the disk. Reads the disk, no problem. I do want to see if it recognizes the hard drive at all. So I'm just going to put in the install disk, which should have fdisk on it. No fixed disk present. So while I was testing, I was having some issues where the laptop stopped booting and the hard drive LED was solid, and it just wouldn't boot to the BIOS. So I decided to just go ahead. I knew this drive was bad, so I just decided to take it out. So I opened it up. It's in this little box that has these little hinges. Those clip on over here. And then it's got this really tiny, short IDE, laptop size IDE cable that connects the to the drive. But unfortunately, there's all this sticky stuff. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not. But there's sticky stuff on this side. And then when I flipped it over to this side, it's even worse. So, you know, and I can see inside the hard drive, there's like a gap there. Anyway, it was probably best that I just took this off because this thing was really in bad shape. The little warranty sticker itself has slid off and is just kind of hanging on there by a thread. But this stuff, I don't know what it is. It's green. Let's see if I can get some off here. You can see it's all green. That may just be from the sticker, but I don't think so because it's all over this side and it's also all over this side. So I don't know what it is, but this hard drive's toast anyway. I'll take it out. We'll see what it is. Yeah, so that just slides right out of there. And it does have a little protective case to keep things from shorting. But yeah, this is it. This is a Connor, very popular brand around this time. Connor Peripherals CP 2024. Yeah, it's a cute little thing, that's for sure. But yeah, it's not going to work anymore. Oh well. Okay, so I decided to sleep on this issue that I'm having around the power and why that's not working. And when I woke up, I had an idea. And that's, I don't know about you, but that is always my case. If I'm stuck on a programming problem or something, you know, and it's getting late, if I go to bed and I wake up, I almost always have figured out a solution for it. So in this case, I was thinking that if the battery itself, it's an old battery, number one, for whatever reason, it's not pulling current in from the what I think the connection should be on the back, but it's definitely working from the battery. I had a thought about, well, what if I just take the battery out and replace it with a 5-volt power supply, because it's a 4.8 volt battery, so 5 volts should be just about right. And if I did that, then I could hook this up to a power source through the battery input, and as long as that was working, I could just always run it off of that hard battery. It's not like I'm going to travel with this around the world, right? I just want to be able to play with it, test it out, and so forth. So what I did was I set up my power supply for 5 volts, and I've connected it to the ground and the 5-volt lines that would normally be connected to the battery. Very carefully, by the way. I don't know if you can see this, but I very carefully, luckily through this hole, I can see where the battery connects, and I just attached some clip leads there, making sure I wasn't shorting anything out. I got to be careful not to touch it. And powered it on, and sure enough, it's working fine. It's drawing 1.4 amps now. And what's critical about knowing the amperage it's drawing is, of course, I don't have the hard drive in here anymore. Once I do, it'll probably pull some more amperage. But if I can keep it, you know, relatively low, then it's possible that I could just hook this up to a USB, you know, any USB power source that provides at least 2.4 amps and run it off of that, or get one of those, you know, bigger Raspberry Pi bricks that delivers 3 amps or something. And remember that there's this blank plate, which is meant to be punched out on the side of the laptop here. So that means that I could potentially hook up a power connection and then just feed those wires in and connect them. This is a fairly standard plug. I would just have to find another plug like that, but I could connect that directly there, and it should work. Yeah, I'll do some more testing and figure out what the maximum draw might be, and then maybe it's just as simple as, you know, plugging in, doing a little mod here, plugging in USB power to that where the battery normally would go, and just run it that way. That would be perfect. And it would be nice and neat, hopefully. Wouldn't get in the way. And whenever I wanted to use it, all I'd have to do is just plug in some power there and away we go. So the first thing I did was I grabbed a screwdriver and pried up that little knockout piece, which came out pretty easily. I just grabbed some needle nose pliers and pulled it out, and it popped right out. Then I went down to the makerspace and found an identical plug that I scavenged off some other equipment and connected it to a barrel jack. I made the cord just long enough so that it should be able to both connect to the plug here, and also I can push it into the slot when I'm not using it so that I can close that door up. Now, I was pretty sure this would work with a high enough amperage power supply, but I wanted to try this 2.1 amp supply that I use with this little portable battery pack on the off chance that it might be able to power this thing, and that would give me a really nice portable solution. So I plugged it in. Now, I did see some high levels of power draw when you first turn on the laptop, so I didn't have high hopes for the solution, but I tried it anyway. And yeah, it did turn the display on and blink the lights, but yeah, it didn't power up. At this point, it was just time to screw everything back together and try it out. Of course, I've got to replace all these keys here at the bottom. And as always, there's one screw left over. I think this was the screw to the daughter board, and it should be fine to leave this out because it's already held in there pretty well with the connections. Okay, so I'm out at the ping pong table and I want to put this thing through its paces, so to speak. So I've hooked up a few things. Number one, I've hooked up a keyboard, PS2 keyboard. I've hooked up a serial mouse with a, I'm not sure you can see this, a PS2 adapter. This is an old Microsoft ball mouse. So things are pretty much period here, although this keyboard's a little bit newer. And I've also hooked up this Zenith Data Systems monitor. I believe this is a 640 by 480 monitor only. And it seems like this would be pretty close. I'm not sure what year this came out, but I think this would be pretty close to the 1991 era. So you'd be traveling on the road, get home from your long trip overseas, whatever. You want to work on your stuff on a bigger screen. This is how you'd do it. You'd plug in your keyboard and mouse, plug in your monitor over here. And of course, I've also got the power connected over here. So let's see if this all works. I saw some lights on this keyboard. Okay, it's running through its normal tests. I'm surprised I didn't see anything come up over here, but it might not automatically detect like newer laptops did. This might be old enough that it might not automatically detect that you want to switch over to this screen. So I'm just going to hit F1. Nope, that didn't work. So this keyboard must be working. Let's see. Yep. Let's go back with Microsoft DOS 4.0. Oh, I forgot. There we go. Now, how do I get the image on this screen? Oh yeah, right here, CRT LCD. So let's see if I hold down function. Aha, bingo. That's working. Wow, that's awesome, and it's nice and sharp. No problems. Uh-oh, read error. That's not good. Let me clean this drive one more time. Okay, so this is that. If you watch my unboxing video, you remember I got some cleaning diskettes. So this is the cleaning diskette that came with that set. It was a 3.5 inch and a 5.25 inch. So I'm just going to put a little bit of alcohol here on the pad. And I don't have a dropper, so I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way here. And I'm just going to spin the disc around a little bit, about 180 degrees, and put a little bit more on. And that should be fine. Let's put this in here. Try running a directory. Now let's try check it again. Okay, that looks good. Okay, looks like it worked that time. That's good, although interesting it is in black and white. I think there's a way you can turn on the color here. Let's see. Yep, looks like everything, no math coprocessor. Mouse is not present. That's probably because I don't have a mouse driver loaded. So I'll have to remember that for next time. So let's go over here to, yeah, set up color on off. There we go. Nice and blue. That looks fine. That's the way I remember Check-It looking. Let's go ahead and do a quick benchmark. Main system. And yep, there we go. IBM PC XT would have been down in this range, and this is the CPU speed is up here 2.5K. It looks like 7 times faster than an IBM PC XT. And math, even the math speed is faster, even though I don't have the coprocessor in there. So that's pretty good. I'm curious to know if it does a memory test. I may or may not do that, but I'm curious to know how accurate that graph was that I saw online about how many operations the memory could do. But anyway, I don't know what program they were running, so I probably can't test that. Okay, I do want to test the video mode, so let's do that real quick. Graphic modes. And this should walk through all the different graphic modes. You'll see different colors, different sizes. Yeah, now we're getting into some of the higher resolution stuff here. All looks good. Oh, and here's the color test. So this is going through the CGA colors. Looks good. And here are all of the, oh, there we go. This is the 256 color palette test. Look at that. That looks really good. So this thing does put out decent color, no problem, to this VGA monitor. Okay, that looks good. Now I do want to see if I can test this mouse as well. So I am going to exit out and load the mouse driver. So this is just a generic mouse setup disk. You can install it if you have a hard drive. I do not have a hard drive, but I think I can still run the driver directly. So let's try that. Yeah, and here is here's a test program, and here is trmouse.com that I can run. Let me try that TR test. Yeah, here it is. So mouse software resolution 5. It's in PS2 mode. So hopefully that works. Let's try TR test and see what that does. Oh yeah, there we go. So this is one of those. I remember doing this when I was working installing systems. We would have to go through and test everything, test the keyboard, test the mouse before we would give a computer to someone. And I remember having to go through this. And you can press the buttons. Very annoying, especially coming out of the PC speaker. I don't know if you could hear that, but anyway, looks like it's working, so that's good. Nice little beep there at the end. Thanks for using this mouse testing program. You're welcome. All right, so I think what we need to do now is run something that might have been run, well, this was on the road. So I am going to switch back into LCD mode here. Okay, so hopefully you can see that screen now. And I'm just going to try running WordPerfect. I believe this is 4.0, and I think that this will run off a single disk. Now, I took the hard drive out, so I can't run anything that needs to be installed on a hard drive. And I think everything WordPerfect, after WordPerfect 4, you needed to install it. It came with 3 or 4 disks, and you need to install it on a hard drive. So this WordPerfect 4, I think, could run off a single disk. So let's just try it. Yeah, so here we are, doc 1, page 1, line 1, position 10. So it's got the indent there. Let's see, what should I type? And of course, I've got this template up here on the top of the laptop. That could have been replaced with a WordPerfect template. You could have created your own paper WordPerfect template to put up there so you know what all your function keys are. So anyway, this would have been what you probably would have used on the road to write all of your, maybe you write a letter or an article or a report or something. You could have used WordPerfect for that, saved it on a disk, and away you go. So while I've got the camera on the display here, I thought I would try loading a game. This is Indianapolis 500, The Simulation, by David Kremer, and it's from 1989, so we'll see if this will run. I do want to see if it'll run and show anything on this display. I might need to be in VGA mode, but let's just see what happens. Okay, got some music. Oh, there we go. So hopefully you can see that okay. I mean, it is, you know, kind of CGA type graphics. Of course, it's all black and white, but I can see it okay. That's not too bad. Well, for a 720K disc, it sure does take a while to load. But yeah, I can see some fans up there. I can see the cars going there. So that's not too bad. Press escape to drive. This is TV view. But it's not bad on that LCD screen, actually. You could play games on that all day long, I think. Back in 1991 on the road, maybe in the airplane. Let's switch over to the other screen and see what it looks like. Ah, there we go. That's looking a little bit better. Yeah, so I'm sure there's going to be some flicker on the camera just due to the shutter speed probably not matching the CRT, but yeah, hopefully you can see this actually looks really good on the CRT connected to this little laptop. So let me see if I can just hit escape. Oh, how long did it take this winning car to travel the 500 miles? So this is one of those things where you have to look up in the booklet. It's a copyright protection. Yeah. Goodbye, Indianapolis 500, the simulator. Yep. Hopefully my mouse driver is still loaded. Okay, we get our choice of CGA, EGA, or Tandy. I'll choose EGA. Should be backwards compatible, and I'll say mouse. Okay, this is looking good. Graphics look good. Yeah, it's looking great. Let's see if the mouse works on this. Yeah, it does. No problem. I want the lasers. Give me the lasers. Mouse works really well. It's just the right responsiveness. I have no problem with that. And I think the colors look really good too. Now, of course, this is EGA, not VGA, but you know, it's a good test of the colors and seems to work really well. There we go. Looks great. So yeah, there's no problem with this VGA port outputting good quality graphics. And like I said, this probably would have been the monitor you would have used because this only supports, I believe, 640 by 480 graphics anyway. So yeah, you would have been able to run it on another monitor, but you wouldn't have gotten any bigger than this. So this is it. This should be Carmen Sandiego. Let's see. But I remember playing this in high school. It was one of the games that was loaded on a computer in the library. There we go. There goes the bad guy. And of course, Keystone Cops. All right, Carmen's gang has pulled another caper. It's up to you to crack the case. Look at these CGA graphics in all their glory. Here we go. Does that music bring back any memories for anybody? I'm kind of surprised it lets me use that many characters. Yeah, this brings back a lot of memory of me sitting in the library library in high school playing this game. So yeah, I mean, everything's working. The laptop's working. The battery mod that I did is working fine. You know, I've been running this now for a few hours. It's not getting hot. Hasn't shown any flakiness. So I'm going to consider this one a great big success. I think this is working great, and it's a really neat laptop to play around with from this era. Well, I've got to say, I am really impressed by this laptop. After I was able to mod the battery, connector to get to supply power more easily, I ran this thing for hours, didn't have any problems. The little mod I did on the side here is working great. The little connector just kind of peeks in that little hole, and when I want to use it, I can just pull it out and tuck it away when I'm done so I don't ruin the aesthetic. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the performance and this little piece of history. I mean, one thing about it, there's no audio ports. There is that possibility of a memory expansion. And I still kind of want to see if I can get a hard drive in here. That's going to be difficult because the BIOS is hard-coded to look for certain types of hard drives. The only choice I have in the BIOS is 20 meg, 30 meg, I think 40 meg and 60 meg hard drives. So it's looking for a certain type of hard drive there, and I'm not sure I can emulate those types with an SD card to IDE adapter. But there's at least 3 or 4 things in there. I might do a follow-up with this laptop and see if I can mod it even further. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments below. If you're enjoying the content I'm producing, then please subscribe to the channel and like the episodes. That really helps me out and helps spread the word about the channel. If you want to go further, you can support me on Patreon. I'll put the link there. And of course, you can always follow what I'm doing in between episodes on my Instagram account or on Twitter, whichever you prefer. I did some posts on this one where I was playing around with the power and keeping my fingers crossed, making sure that I didn't blow up the laptop as I was working on it. So anyway, please do all of those things and support the channel. And thank you for all of those who have subscribed already. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/retrohackshack and sign up. If you support me at a high enough level, you can get your picture in the credits, just like Parker here.
End of line.